Alright, so I woke up this morning and I was like, alright, let me check my iPad, let me see if I got any new updates, and I saw a notification. I was like, I got an update? Then I check, and surprisingly it was Call of Duty Mobile. I'm like, what? The update came earlier. Usually it does not come this early. And then you all know the update has huge SMG buffs and nerfs. So I had to go check it out, and that's what this video is going to be out. We're going to be checking out all of the SMGs and how they fare so far. I'm not going to have any stats, and this video is not going to be a top 5 list or top 10 list. This is going to be a more like analysis of how the guns are so far in the season, because we have yet to know more statistics of the SMGs. So I want to get you guys prepared when you guys go play ranked. If you guys enjoy Call of Duty Mobile tips and tricks and just Call of Duty Mobile content in general, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. And if you end up enjoying this video, don't forget to leave a like, because we're trying to get a 50k by the end of the month. The support has been unreal, and I appreciate all of you guys for this. And before we continue on with the video, I have one question. What do you guys prefer? Search and destroy or domination? I really want to hear your guys' opinion. Comment it down below. And also, all the loadouts in my video are going to be in the description, and it's going to be pinned in the comments. So yeah, without further ado, thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys next time. So the first gun that we're going to be going over is the HD40. Now the HD40 got a really good buff that makes this, in my opinion, probably a top 6 SMG. They increased the ADS bullet spread accuracy. They made it much more of an SMG that has pretty minimal recoil and that has pretty good range, and it has a skill gap, so you have to hit the upper body shots with it in my testing when I was using it in the meantime. Also, the HD40 used to be good back in the day. They had a little update on it, then everyone started to abuse it and they nerfed it, but now the HD40 seems like it's back in its old self. Not necessarily as overpowered as it was back in the day, but the HD40 is definitely very viable, and it is something that you're going to see a lot more in ranked, so mark my words with that. So if you guys have not upgraded the HD40 already, I highly recommend you guys to do so. Now for our next gun on our list, here we have is the MSC. Now the MSC got a very significant buff that makes it really much more of a SMG than it used to be. The recoil got a little buff, the range got a buff, and overall the gun just seems a lot more like an SMG and a lot more viable when you're trying to hold down hard points and playing close range encounters. The MSC is definitely a good skill gun that you're gonna have good movement with, because there's gonna be a lot of other SMGs that a lot of people are gonna take advantage of. So if you guys are gonna use the MSC, make sure you guys master the recoil and master the movement with it, because it's probably gonna get outgunned by a QQ9. So make sure you guys do that already, and that is just my views on the MSC. Now for the next gun, here we have is the RUS. Now I know that the RUS didn't really get a buff, but the COD Mobile patch notes did say that SMGs are much more viable in close range, so it makes the RUS much more viable than it used to be. I know the RUS isn't the greatest gun in the game, and there's much more better guns to use than this, but overall when I use the RUS, I've had a lot of fun using it. It just seems like a reliable gun, and it's very consistent, so I tend to not un-ADS, and I usually get the kills when I need to get it, because the time to kill is not as bad as people make it seem to be. It is just a very fun gun to use, and if you guys don't want to use the meta and you guys want to challenge yourself, the RUS is always a good option to do so. And now with the new buffs of SMGs with the mobility, it just makes the RUS a lot better than it was in the previous seasons when it comes to being an overall SMG. For our next gun on our list, here we have is the AGR. Now the AGR is criminally underrated because you could do so much with this gun. They made the recoil and they made a lot of the ADS bullet spread accuracy on this gun a lot better, so it makes it much more easier to use than it was before. It's not as viable as the top meta guns, but you could just do so much with this gun, and with the mobility on it, I could just do so much with it. And I usually love to use it when I'm playing objective, which I normally don't play that much, and just the overall things I could do with this SMG just makes this gun really fun to use over the other SMGs. And yeah, if you guys want to use a gun that challenges yourself and it has a little bit different recoil pattern, the AGR is a very good gun to use. Now let's talk about the Chikum. Now the Chikum we all know is a burst weapon, and it's pretty much memed a lot in the Call of Duty Mobile community that nobody really uses, but they really buffed the Chikum and they made the mobility a lot better, and I've noticed that the fire rate seems much faster. I don't know if I haven't used it that much that makes it seem faster, but I don't know, the Chikum seems much more viable than it ever was in all the previous seasons. The Chikum is definitely a skill gun because it is a burst, and you guys know burst weapons are not the greatest in Call of Duty Mobile because of the advanced mobility that people could use and the strafe. But if you want a gun that challenges yourself, and if you're a fan of burst weapons, the Chikum you cannot go wrong with, and it's very debatable with the Pharaoh. Now for my personal favorite SMG on this list and in Call of Duty Mobile is the Fennec. Now you guys know, if you guys have been subscribed to me, by the way, make sure you guys do so if you enjoyed the video. The Fennec is my personal favorite gun. It's just so fun to use. The mobility on it, in my opinion, is the best, and probably statistically with the patch notes, COD Mobile did say the Fennec's mobility is top tier. The Fennec fire rate just makes it so good to use, and the hip fire is just an overall close range beast. In my personal opinion, the Fennec is the best close range gun in the game, but we still have to test it out in my next video when we do get more details in the statistics. The Fennec is just very, very fun to use. You could just do so much with it. Like I said, if you have very high mobility and if you just like guns that are very, very aggressive in all types of game modes, the Fennec you can never go wrong with. The downsides on the Fennec is really the range, and another downside is the ammo size. If only the ammo size was like a 45 round mag, that would just make the Fennec even a much more viable gun, but it's already viable enough of how it really is. Now for the next burst weapon we have on the list is the Pharaoh. Now we all know the Pharaoh is basically a really forgotten gun in COD Mobile. It's not really talked about a lot. So Call of Duty Mobile made it the fastest mobility SMG in the game along with the Fennec. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, my personal first impressions with the Pharaoh, it pretty much feels the same. I don't really see much of a difference. They did say they were gonna do a range buff, but I don't know, it just does not seem viable enough compared to the other SMGs on this list. I just personally see the Fennec being a much better option, and then being outgunned by the QQ9. And if you're going against enemies with very good mobility, I just don't see how the Pharaoh could be super viable. Hey, I may be wrong with the statistics that we're going to test out, but that is just my personal first impressions with the Pharaoh. I don't think the Pharaoh really belongs in the meta that much. If you guys made it this far in the video, comment down below dark matter and I will heart your comment. Thank you guys so much. Speaking of forgotten guns, here we have is the Razorback. Now the Razorback isn't as irrelevant as the Pharaoh, but the Razorback is actually another underrated gun. I love to use the Razorback when it comes to playing objectives. I just think it's very viable. It has a pretty good mag size. It has a good ADS bullet spread accuracy, and it is one of the easiest control recoil when it comes to SMGs. The Razorback's iron sight could be a little bit intrusive, but I personally don't really find much of a problem using the iron sights on it. The Razorback, you want to make sure you guys use the rapid fire perk on it to give it more faster time to kill, because it is an SMG, and I use it more of an AR. But again, the Razorback is just a pretty good gun to use in my opinion. Just make sure you guys use the rapid fire perk on it, because that's going to make the gun have a faster time to kill. And yeah, I usually like to use it when I hold down angles and objectives. Now we have one of the more interesting guns on this list, which is the Kordik. Now the Kordik got a huge buff, which made it the ADS bullet spread accuracy much more viable, and it just made the mobility on it better and the ADS time. But I'm going to be completely honest with you, I don't know if that's going to be enough to make it a meta SMG, because it just feels more like an AR if anything. Again, don't get me wrong, the bullet spread accuracy on the Kordik has increased a lot, and it just made it a lot better and a very fun gun to use, because we all know the Kordik has one of the best skins in the game with the 0G and the anime skin that I have. But I just don't know if the Kordik is meta. But again, it's a very fun gun to use, and I could see it used somewhat in ranked for sure. Now we're gonna be talking about a very meta gun that I could say with a fact that is a top 3 SMG without a doubt, which is the QXR. Now the QXR probably benefited the most out of this buff. It got a fire rate buff, it got an ADS bullet spread accuracy buff, and it got a lot more buffs that just made this gun a top 3 SMG easily, and it could definitely compete with the QQ9. So if you guys do not like QQ9 users, make sure you guys pull out your QXR, because this gun is definitely meta, and I can say that with 100% confidence. The QXR's rapid fire perk just makes it even much more better than it did before, and the QXR's recoil pattern and the ADS bullet spread accuracy just makes it a beam, and it just makes it one of the best guns in the game, and definitely one of the more fun guns to use. Now for the SMG that is last but not least is the GKS. Now the GKS, we all know it is one of the most satisfying guns to use in COD Mobile. It just feels really nice to get kills with this thing. The way Call of Duty Mobile buffed the GKS is they made the chest multiplier and the headshot multiplier much higher. So if you're very accurate with this gun, which is not very hard to be accurate with, then your time to kill is going to be much better than on your average gun. Again, I don't know if the GKS is going to be super meta, but I'm definitely going to expect to see this a lot in ranked. Not necessarily like a lot, but definitely used somewhat, because it's just very fun to use and the iron sights are clean. There's not much downsides. The only downsides I really have with this gun is the close range damage when it comes to QQ9s and QXR and Fennec users. But again, the GKS is overall a very balanced SMG, and it might be overshadowed by the Bison, so stay tuned for that, guys. Well, that has been the video. Thank you guys so much if you guys made it this far. If you guys did, make sure you guys comment finish down below, and I will heart your comment. Appreciate the support. Let's try to get a 50K by the end of the month. Without further ado, I am signing out. Have a great rest of your day, and peace out.